This is Let's Finally Talk, a heart-to-heart with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, live streaming every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Join me on YouTube at Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, on Facebook at Dr. Jacalyn, and on Instagram at Dr. Jacalyn, as seen and heard on the USA Global TV and Radio Network worldwide. We've earned the YouTube Silver Creator Award, and I've earned the 100 Global Top Women Icons in Media. My TV shows are Iconic Women, Creating a World of Possibilities, Judgment, the Hidden Sin, A Woman's Prerogative, Sisterhood Across Borders, It's Your Healthy Lifestyle, and the latest updates. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow. We're streaming every night live on Let's Finally Talk. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another episode of Let's Finally Talk. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and it is my honor and privilege to be here today. Our topic is, how do we show up in a violent world? So many of us are asking, how do we continue to carry on? How do we find the truth or meaning behind so much violence that's going on in the world? We read about horrific crimes. We see news media. We see things on social media. We see violence replayed across the world, across our screens, day in and day out. And we witness insensitive statements from people in positions of power. And inside, we feel grief and we feel anger. We feel helplessness. Sometimes we even feel betrayed. And sometimes we feel all of these things at once. So in this episode, we're going to look at how what I've created and I've called elevated listening and trademarked can help us stay connected to our humanity without becoming numb, reactive, or emotionally destroyed. So thank you for tuning in. Some of the key discussion points I want to look at tonight are what constant exposure to violence does to our nervous system, why silence can feel like complicity, and why speaking can feel like exhaustion, the difference between awareness and absorption, and how outrage can lead to burnout. And so why some people are so quick to come out with statements on social media, why people will share negativity and statements and posts about violence, and what that actually does to them as well as to those of us who are witnessing it. So unless you have been hibernating or you have been on hiatus, if you have been on social media or if you've been watching mainstream news, you know that for some people, it hasn't been safe to go to a beach, to go to school, or even to be in your own home without violence occurring. And so as a peace ambassador, I look at this really seriously because part of the role that I have is, how do we look at conflict and find a solution? How do we find inner peace when there's so much unrest in the world? And these are not easy questions, and they're not something that I take lightly, which is why I continue to practice my training with Peace Ambassador work and also with what I'm sharing here today and every day that I do this show on Let's Finally Talk. So tragedy has been occurring and occurring, it seems like more and more often. It just seems like, I don't know if you feel this way, but maybe it's 62. I feel like more people are dying, which I don't have any statistics on that to even know if that's relevant. But I do know that what we used to cherish as feeling safe in our own homes or feeling safe in our beliefs is being questioned over and over again. And so what is it that we can do when we are exposed to violence on a regular basis if we're watching television, or listening to the radio or we're on social media. It's there. And sometimes the stories of violence, they get sliced and diced. And in your feed, you might see double, triple, quadruple the amount of stories about the violence. And so once we're exposed to this type of thing over and over and over again, it has to impact us. I know all day today, and I don't like to talk about the names of the specific people because I don't want to perpetuate the negativity. But the reality is that people have lost their lives. And I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop thinking about some of the horrific ways that people have lost their life. And we do a lot of longevity shows here, a lot of shows about wellness. And so we talk a lot about fasting and exercise and getting enough sleep and drinking enough water and doing all the things that we're supposed to do. But people can do these things. And then just like that, even though they're doing all the right things, their life is taken away from them. And so it comes to me as a question to ponder that by spending so much time doing all the right things, we don't know what ultimately is going to happen to us. But what we do know is this: what we can control, what we are in charge of, is how we show up, how we handle our emotions, how we react to what's going on in the world. So, with a lot of the negativity that's been going on in the past week, I could go past month, year, I could go on and on. I have noticed an extreme amount of increase, especially on social media, since I'm on social media for hours a day doing my work, that people are very angry, understandably, and they're posting a lot of negativity. And so part of the training that I have as a peace ambassador is to be able to recognize fake news. And I'm not an expert in this in any way, but what I have encouraged my team to do, and I ask you to do this, is when you see something posted, why don't you try to validate yourself with three reputable sources to determine, is the information actually true? Just because someone posted something doesn't mean it's true. Just because someone shared something that someone else has posted doesn't mean it's true. So I rarely will share anything that someone else has posted because I have to fact check it. So if you are someone who typically shares something, please think about fact checking with three reputable sources before you go ahead and share someone else's post. Also, before you like someone else's post, before you follow someone, see what they're about, see what kind of content they're sharing. And the reason I bring this up is, yes, there is actual true violence that is going on in this world. There is no denying that. And so, as horrible as that is, as painful as that is, by us perpetuating the message, we're actually internalizing a lot of that negativity inside of us. So I have the three statements that I ask you to consider before you speak, before you share. Is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? So we're living in a world of violence. Is that kind? No. Is it necessary? No. Is it true? I'd have to say, yes, it is true. But what I feel in reference to that is I will not specifically rehash the stories of the tragedies because then the whole thing is coming up again. And so I'm always looking to be in a place of peace. But the question comes up, when is it that we can seek peace versus seeming like we don't care? So for me personally, I absolutely do care. I care very much. And if you are someone who is an empath or someone like me who's a peace ambassador, I know that you care. And sometimes we're so frustrated, we just want to scream. We think to ourselves, wait a minute, these people did nothing and then they are murdered. These people were having a good time at the beach and then their lives were taken from them. These people were going to college and so on and so forth. And so it gets to the point where you absolutely want to scream. And you know what? Maybe go ahead and scream in your own home or in your own domain. Give yourself the opportunity to go ahead and get your emotions out. Silence does not always mean that you're in agreement. So just because you are not actively posting something on social media, stating how it is you feel about something, that doesn't mean that you don't care. And so I see people I know posting things on a regular basis that seem like they care, but at the same time, they haven't fact checked the stories. So I personally have made it my business to go ahead and fact check stories for people that I know that are close to me. And what I can tell you is many times the facts are just not all there. Some of the facts are shared, but not all the facts. So it comes to the point again, before we share something, is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? Is it necessary for you to post something that you didn't actually take the time to check and find out if everything that you mentioned is accurate or true? It's truly important to consider this. So once I see individuals who are just forwarding information and they haven't bothered to actually check and see if it's true, I tend to unfollow them because they're not actually adding any value. What they're doing is they're considering continuing to put out negativity that doesn't have any benefit. So, when to stay silent when we feel like screaming? Silence can be a pause for interpretation, for integration. How am I going to integrate this information? It doesn't necessarily mean that you are trying to avoid something. What elevated listening is, and in case you're not familiar, there are 4 pillars to elevated listening. It's listening without judgment, listening without interruption, listening without stage hogging, and listening without problem solving. So I've packaged these together to help each of us find inner peace. And elevated listening helps us discern, when do we speak? When do we listen? And when do we rest? Not every reaction that we have needs to be public, and not every reaction that we have is valid. And I want you to consider that. Sometimes information is put into the press that is intentionally meant to sway us one way or another. And so when you have elevated listening, you can actually take the time to discern, is this information factual? Is it true? You can also take the stance that with all the violence going on in the world, you're going to continue sending the message of violence by forwarding emails or forwarding social media posts that are literally filled with negativity. Does this help you? I don't know. I ask you to think about it. I know for me, it's enough hearing the information firsthand through mainstream media, which again is not always on point either. But then to see it repeated over and over again on social media by people who have no information whatsoever. And then the thing I think is interesting, when you see an article that's posted on one of the major digital uh, companies that provides information, I'm not mentioning any names, you'll see comments underneath. And the thing that's so interesting about the comments that people put about a news story is how much hatred people have, that even though someone has died, they are putting into the public domain how they deserved it, how it's their own fault. And I think to myself, wow, do you have anything more important to do? And this isn't a judgment, it's a question. Do you have anything more important to do than speak ill of the dead whom you don't even know? But you decided to take the time to put negative comments out into the public domain about celebrities or politicians or whomever they are because you're so angry. So I come from a place of love. You can either come from fear or you can come from love. When you come from fear, it continues to get perpetuated through negativity, through negative emotions. You're the ones putting the negative press out there. You're the ones writing the negative reviews about restaurants, about people. I come from a place of love, which is sometimes it's better not to say anything, because if it's not kind, if it's not necessary, and it's not true, and you put the negativity out there, it only is going to come back on you. It's called karma. And I'm not inventing this. This is just This is how the universe works, at least in my 62 years of experience. So think about what it is that you're forwarding on social media, what it is that you're gossiping about, and is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? And this is meant to help each and every one of us find peace, because the violence is out of our control unless you're someone who's involved in violence, and that's a whole other story. But what elevated listening offers us in violent times is a way to witness suffering without becoming desensitized. It's a way to hold grief without being swallowed by it. And it's a way of remaining compassionate without abandoning ourselves. It's a way to choose peace without choosing ignorance. And I want you to think about that. Are you coming from a place where you are playing small? I talked about this last night. You're playing small. And so, therefore, you just go with the masses, and the masses are posting negativity. So you think, you know what? My friends on Facebook, they're posting negativity. I'm going to join in. What if you chose not to post anything? What if you chose not to join the group and follow in your own footsteps instead of someone else's? Think about how you could let go of all of that anger that is just being, it's like the fire that keeps building and building and building. Obviously, when there are tragedies, it is horrific. It is unconscionable. And that in itself is a fact. But how we take that information and what we do with it, if it says a lot about who we are and about our character. So what I'm asking you to consider is, consider before you actually say something to someone else, before you actually post something in the public domain, is it kind? Is it necessary? And is it true? Because the violence in and of itself is overwhelming. That doesn't mean that you have to become responsible for continuing the conversation. Because when you do that, you are now getting pulled down into the realm of negativity. And it's almost impossible to find peace. And so, my point in all of this is this: clearly, we're living in a world where people are not at peace. Because when people are at peace, they don't act the way that we've seen people act. When you are at peace, you are not thinking about taking away someone else's life. You are not thinking about taking away someone else's liberty. You are encouraging people to do well. You want people to do well. So the fact that there is so much violence in the world, to me, says that we have people who are not at peace. And when people are not at peace, what do? They judge. That's huge. They interrupt. They try to fix you. And then they try to make everything about themselves. So I personally am asking you to consider finding inner peace. And you can do that through many ways. It could be meditation, it could be yoga, it could be through mentors, through coaches, through therapists, through groups, and I believe through elevated listening. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here to talk to you about this. So the key takeaways are: you are allowed to be affected by what you see and hear. Absolutely. You don't need to comment on everything that you see to show that you care. Your silence can be intentional. It doesn't mean that you're passive. It doesn't mean that you don't care. I've heard people say, well, so and so doesn't speak up, or so and so is not posting on social media, because so and so chooses not to continue with the negativity. The violence in and of itself is overwhelming. And so how we deal with that violence says a lot about who we are. And so, as we continue to grow as humans, as we actually think to ourselves, wow, the end of a year is coming and a new year is starting, what can I let go of? What can I keep? And what do I want to change? So, I encourage you to think about how you are showing up in the public domain. Are you constantly posting negative information? Are you sharing negative stories? I look and I see some of the things that people are posting, and it's like, okay, we know that XYZ person should not have said what they said, right? We know we don't even want to hear what the person has to say anymore, but we don't have to share it again and again. We already know. We know that when someone commits a hideous crime, that they shouldn't have done it. But we don't have to share the details, and we don't have to get people so worked up that now we're taking one situation and we're creating and advocating for violence in another situation. So, as a peace ambassador, and I take this very seriously, it is my role to encourage you to find peace. Find peace within yourself, whatever that looks like. What are your behaviors that are not serving you, that are not enabling you to be coming from a place of peace? When something horrible happens, when something tragic happens, it is absolutely perfectly fine to feel your feelings. You own your feelings. But how you show up after that, if you start orchestrating something so that people come together on social media and you're sharing information and you haven't bothered to fact check to see if it's actually true, you're part of the problem. I hate to share that with you, but you are perpetuating negativity. And so I do not advocate for that. As a peace ambassador, I advocate for you to find peace within yourself and support others finding peace within themselves. I advocate for you giving back, for you helping others, for you lending an ear when someone's going through something. With all the tragedies going on in this world, are you able to show up as a listener instead of someone who is standing in judgment? It is so easy to judge, and we do it all the time. And I'm asking you, as we come to the end of this year, what can you do so that you are not judging everyone and everything? And instead, you are showing up with grace. You are showing up with compassion, and you are showing up with empathy. Empathy and compassion for our fellow human beings. I'm advocating for that and asking you to consider that. Because if you find that you are always angry, or that you're angrier more than you're happy, there's something to be said about that. When you consume stories of violence, what happens inside of you, and what do you need to do in that moment to stay human? This is not an easy topic. And I thought about it long and hard before I did it tonight, because to be honest with you, I'd come back from the gym. I did some work producing shows. I was really comfortable. And I decided, you know what? I need to go and do my show because I promised I'm going to do it. And it's a topic that is a very sensitive one to talk about. But when I see people posting on social media hateful comments, comments that are inciting more violence, how are you showing up? Are you part of the problem? You're angry, and I get it. Find something to do with the anger. But orchestrating social media posts, television shows, podcasts, whatever it is, where you're stirring the pot and advocating for more violence does not help with the initial problem. In our world today, there is so much miscommunication, lack of communication, frustration, that we as humans, each and every one of us, me included, we have a choice. Are we coming from a place of fear, or are we coming from a place of love? When you're coming from a place of love, you want the best for your fellow humans. You're showing up with empathy and compassion. You want people to be happy. You want people to do well. You're not sitting there thinking, why does she have this? And why does he have that? And why don't I have this? And why don't I have that? Each and every one of us, our path is different. And we all suffer in some way along the way. But there are also many moments of joy. And so the violence is reprehensible. Absolutely. I've been overwhelmed all day today by it. And at the same time, I am choosing peace. I will not be a person who is speaking on television or who is posting on social media advocating for anything but peace. So find the peace within you. Look in the mirror, look in your own eyes. I say this every day. Look in your own eyes and like what you see. Get to know who you are because the clock is ticking and time is the only gift we have. And if all your time is spent being angry, jealous, envious, negative, etc., 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 you're missing the whole part of the joy in life. So thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. I would love if you join me every night on my show. It's called Let's Finally Talk. The show times have been a little bit different depending on what else is going on in the network. But I want you to think about the fact that from the beginning of time, there's always been some kind of violence. And I hope one day it will stop. I know there are some places in the world where the violence level is much less than in others. And as a peace ambassador and in the training that I've been involved with, there have been many stories shared about where people live in the world, and every single day they're in fear for their life. So depending on where you are in the world, you can choose to come from a place of peace, regardless of what is going on outside. That doesn't mean that you don't care. It doesn't mean that you're not frustrated and angry and concerned. It doesn't mean any of that. What it means is if you decide to go down a path of negativity, it will not serve you and you will not find peace. And if each and every one of us decides to come from a place of peace, one day, I don't know if it'll be in my lifetime or yours, but one day there can be world peace. Choose peace over violence. Choose compassion over hate. Watch what you say. Watch what you put into the world. And come from a place of love instead of a place of fear. And I promise you, you will find peace. Thank you for listening. This is Dr. Jacalyn signing off. I would love for you to come and join me, subscribe to our YouTube channels. And until then, God bless you and take good care. Go in peace. This is Let's Finally Talk, a heart-to-heart with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, live streaming every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Join me on YouTube at Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, on Facebook at Dr. Jacalyn, and on Instagram at Dr. Jacalyn, as seen and heard on the USA Global TV and Radio Network worldwide. We've earned the YouTube Silver Creator Award, and I've earned the 100 Global Top Women Icons in Media. My TV shows are Iconic Women, Creating a World of Possibilities, Judgment, the Hidden Sin, A Woman's Prerogative, Sisterhood Across Borders, It's Your Healthy Lifestyle, and the latest updates. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow. We're streaming every night live on Let's Finally Talk.
Listen, babe, now. 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 Listen, babe, now.
In a noisy world, true connection begins with listening. Elevated listening transforms every conversation in just 5 simple steps. Pause and breathe. Set your intention. Listen with curiosity. Reflect back. Agree on one next step. Join the Listening Mentor on Let's Finally Talk with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, where we help you find inner peace, one conversation at a time. Streaming every day. Let's Finally Talk TV show with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, only here on USA, Global TV and Radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channels to watch and engage with all our content.
What if one simple skill could change the way you connect with the world? What if listening could open doors to deeper relationships, stronger businesses, and a better you? Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, brings you USA Global TV and Radio, a space where voices are heard, ideas are shared, and global communities thrive. Through the elevated listeners' courses and books, you'll master the power of listening, set boundaries with confidence, and transform conversations into opportunities. Join us. Listen, learn, elevate. Whether you're a leader, a coach, a business owner, or someone seeking stronger connections, your journey starts today. Subscribe, learn, and transform today.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.